If you load it up big, you better clear the rest. The solvent list takes away all my stress. Life's been feeling like kind of a mess. I'll never let a hater make me think less, because everything before this was just a test.
Bagsy Chronicles.
Yeah, we've been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, always staying.
Hello, all. Welcome to the Backseat Chronicles. As always, it has been too long. Today I have a lovely interview with the Bong Marley. We cover the Washington cannabis market with some juicy tidbits, such as the standard markup on the Washington market, deep criticism of the limited cannabis culture excessive regulation has created in Washington state,
and smoking the reefer.
But before all that, I bet you're wondering what's going on in my garden. Uncle Dig's garden update. It is July 12th, 2025. I am in gardening zone 8B. I am Uncle Dig, and this is your garden update. I have a vegetable garden this year. I have 6 jalapeno pepper plants, 6 Hungarian black pepper plants, 2 tomatoes, 2 habanero plants, and 3 sunflowers, wouldn't you know? So I have got a nice little container vegetable garden on the sunny side of my house, and it's doing very well. I should have fruit on my peppers by the end of the month. They are blooming, so I'm very excited. I'm already getting tomatoes. My chickens are fine, so that's good. Although I don't know where they're laying eggs. I think they're laying eggs in one of my thicker rose bushes isn't the right word. We're leaning into hedgerow territory. However, I also have a cannabis garden this year. I didn't get any autoflowers established outside this year. So I am only running photo periods, which is usually not the case with me. I have 7 cannabis plants right now. 3 of which I'm not sure about, whether or not they're male or female. I've got Aga's Banana Patch and 2 Funk Runts. The Aga's Banana Patch is from Red Scare Seed Company, who's been on the show before. And the Funk Runts is from Brainstrap, who has not been on the show before. I should invite him. I don't even know who he is, really. I got this pack of seeds in a veterans free seed pack ages ago. And I don't know if I've reached out to him. I should reach out to him. Anyway, beyond that, so I've also got the next row over, I've got 2 Funk Ruts that are almost definitely female, as well as 1 Aga's Banana Patch. I would have liked to have more of a variety of THC-heavy cultivars in my garden this year, but a lot of the plants just turned out male. That's kind of the luck of the draw when you're running non-feminized photo periods. Sometimes you end up with not everything you want, you know. And I ran like fractions of pack. If you bust open a whole pack, you're probably going to get at least 1 female, but whatever. Anyway, so no Purple Punch crossed with Black Lime Reserves this year. Maybe next year, or maybe not. Who knows? So I've got 3 females, right? I've got 2 Funk Runts and 1 Aga's Banana Patch. So I'm really excited about those. So I've got 3 that might be male and 3 that might be female. Probably female, right? Showing me beautiful little hairs, right? And then the other ones are just not showing me much of anything that looks female. And then I've got a feminized CBD Dutch treat plant, which is something I usually have in the garden. And I thought this year maybe I wouldn't grow it, but I had 1 more seed left, and it popped, and it's doing wonderfully. As always, it's the smallest plant in my garden, but also the bushiest. So that's cool. Yeah, so I've got 7 plants. They're in the ground this year, which is something different for me. I ended up digging about a shovel and a half down, double digging all that, mixing in my old potting soil, amending a little bit, and just putting them in the ground. They're killing it. They're doing great. The watering's a little bit of a learning curve. They just want water every day now, which is not not something I'm used to in containers. Usually they need to dry out a little bit. I'm driving T-posts to get the trellis ready. So I've got that about half done. I drive about 2 T-posts a day. Some of y'all know that I have some back issues and some other issues, so I have to pace myself or I won't be able to do it all. So working on building the first trellis, which is going to be a little over waist height. Some of the tallest plants are already taller than that, but they'll get spread into the trellis. And away we will go. Even if the 3 sus plants that I might have to cull because they're male, if that happens, I still have, 4 big plants in the ground, so I should have more than enough smoke. Hopefully, I'll be able to get a pound a plant. I told that to one of my buddies who told me I was going to get way more than that in the ground if I did it right. The plants are kind of close together. I probably should have spaced them out more. I had gambled and thought that some of the ones that I put in the middle were going to be male, and I was bad at guessing. So, that's where we're at with that. I have been taking cuts off of the lowers that I've been skirting the plug. When I prune the plants, I've been taking some cuts and I've been putting them in water bottles. And some of them have been in the water bottles now for like 5 days. And I think I might actually get some roots on the Aga's banana patch. I've never done cloning like this where you just cut it, kind of make the clone, put it in water in a bottle on your back porch and just kind of leave it. And I kind of missed it. Sometimes when they look like extra shitty or like droopy, I'll miss them. But like other than that, I really don't miss them on any schedule. And if this works, this will probably be the way I clone now. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing some experiments. Maybe I'll have some clones soon. Who knows? Thanks for listening. That's it for your garden update. Let's overgrow the whole goddamn world.
Boom. Everyone, join me in welcoming, I guess you can't because you're not live, but join me in welcoming the champion Bagseed Chronicles guest, the most appearances I think anyone's ever done on the show is Bong Marley. Welcome, Bong Marley, to the show.
Man, I appreciate you always having me, man. I always have a lot of fun, man. So I'm always going to come back and talk, man. I love it.
I love it too, man. And you're easy to talk to, and you've always got something going on. And when you don't have something going on, you've always got stuff to talk about. I know it's been an interesting last year since we talked last. I think we talked in person more recently, but the last time we were on the show was like last year, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to bring my mixer with me. Oh no, I that was when my mixer was broken. Now that I remember.
Yeah. It's always a good time, though. Always.
So, what are you smoking on today, man?
Man, right now I actually got a couple things in the mix. Man, I just finished up the rest of this Jaw Magic from Fire Bros. It's one of my favorite farms. It's a cross between Blueberry Yum Yum and Purple Haze.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Definitely a good upbeat. Yeah, good upbeat sativa. Nothing too crazy, but definitely, man, super decent terp profile.
Okay. And just for everyone listening, Bong Marley is a bud tender in the Washington legal cannabis market out in Bremerton, which is out on the Olympic Peninsula.
Yeah. Just hop, skip, and a jump away from Seattle. Just hop on the ferry, and there you are.
So that's the market we're talking about. So that's some good stuff. You said you had a couple things going on. What else you smoking on?
Man, I just also finished up some Afghan diesel from Seattle Private Reserve. I always jump on, some land races when I can, just because everything is everything and nothing is anything at this point anymore in the market. It's hard to find, those strains, that your parents and the war vets and everybody talked about. So anytime I can find, those names that ring a bell, like Sour Diesel or, the Afghani or the Hindu Kush, those type of things. Those I definitely try to grab those.
I definitely appreciate a good Afghan for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And then just to take it to the complete other side of the board, I also got this Blue Rassicle and Dante's Wrath cross. So definitely on the sweeter and cakier side of things. And also a Boof Scotty, which is a super Boof and Biscotti. So another super sweet, cakey type of vibe going on there. But I like to mix it up. It helps you appreciate them all.
The super boof. All the old heads get so mad when you talk about super boof. They're like, why
Absolutely. It's a battle.
why you calling a strain boof? Boof is not good weed.
And it's absolutely a battle because, you know, like the old timers, man, they don't appreciate the candy strains and, you know, all the fleets and stuff like that. They want they just want the skunky and the real earthy. That's all they really care about. Anything else they said is not real weed.
See, that's limiting. I always tell people like there is a candy strain out there that's gonna surprise you. But what I always say is like
Absolutely.
I like all weed, and I will smoke all weed one time. I will try any strain once. But here's what I'll tell people: I gravitate toward indicas, like downer weed. Like it may be say it's a sativa, but if it's nice and relaxing, I'm down with it. But like if I smoke a sativa with you, we have to have something that's going to bring me back down on hand, or I'm going to be annoying.
I hear that completely. That's kind of where I'm at. It's like I have to be occupied, you know, just because since they tend to be a little more euphoric, a little more stimulating, and I'm not just trying to sit there, you know, just do a whole lot of nothing, you know, it kind of ruins the vibe for me. So, you know, definitely I'd rather socialize, you know, do something active for sure.
Have you been on any good hikes recently? I know we talked hiking recently the last time you were on.
Man, I've been trying to. I've been actually sneaking off into the Forest Reserve on my lunch breaks just because the weather's been finally getting nicer. But, you know, I actually got to take some time, you know, take off and find some decent hikes, you know, some waterfalls and all of that. But, yeah, I mean, just with this being a heavily wooded area around here, so, you know, it's easy to just, you know, go off on a side street and find a little pocket of greenery to hang out. And so that's usually what I choose to do. But haven't went on anything super crazy lately, but summer's coming up. The weather is getting nicer a bit more consistently. So stay tuned, you know?
Oh yeah. I look forward to watching your Instagram, especially when it gets nicer up there. You start going out in it.
Absolutely, man. That's what you're supposed to do, man. Ain't no good if you stay in the house just looking at it.
You got to enjoy your mobility while you've got it.
Absolutely.
Anything exciting that you're looking forward to coming out on the market, or is it all kind of business as usual out there?
There's you know, I mean, with a lot of the stuff they come out with, I mean, they don't like to hype too many of them up. A couple of them will if it ends up being like a pretty big collab. But a lot of times they'll just drop kind of the surprises on you. You know, you just all of a sudden they show up in stores. I do got a couple of things going on. One thing at the end of this month, actually on the 31st, I'm headed to the Northwest Leaf Bowl. And so the Leaf is a publication that's actually multi-state in a few of the legal markets across the country. And they hold like an award show essentially for the best cannabis with all these categories, like, you know, like the oils and even the subcategories about, the best chem strains or the best, you know, candy strains, best edibles, all of that. And so that's one of the bigger events here. It's, you know, it's more of a formal suit and tie type of event. But like I said, it is also a big fat sesh too. So those are always loads of fun. And then about 6 weeks after that, I'm headed to a new one. It's a brand new independent one. And it's called Terp Wars. And it's put on by, you know, essentially a heavy critic in the industry that he doesn't approve of most of the markets just because, unfortunately, with this being a sealed off and prepackaged market, there is a lot of deception at play and, you know, behind the scenes of what goes on as far as pesticide free or not.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So a lot of that does get exposed. And that's kind of his whole purpose in life is to go and expose these farmers for what it is, you know, with paperwork and all. So he's definitely considered a hero in the community. But yeah, it's him and a couple of reps from some of the better farms in the area are getting together and putting on their own type of, you know, competition about seeing who really has the best flower, but under a bit more honest intentions like that. It said, you know, it's a little more explicit laid on the table. People know what you're about, you know, kind of thing. Can't hide behind it. So that should be fun. It should be fun. It's going to be, I think, a whole different type of energy as well, just because, you know, the Leaf Bowl being a bigger one, there's a little more money behind it. It's a little more of a schmoozing event.
Right.
This one is definitely, hey, let's see what you really got. And they called in a couple growers from, you know, other states, you know, that are been in the game for a while and kind of know what to look for. So this should be very fun. And see kind of how it stacks up to the previous event. That'll be the real, you know, what do people think of the award winners, and what do what's considered the better smokers think of the award winners?
Right. I've only been to one cannabis event, and I talked about it a little bit. I went to the Oregon Growers Cup out in Riddle here this last December.
Yeah.
But I didn't even go to the awards show. I went to all the booths before and just got really stoned, and then we went and ate a cheeseburger and went home. So I didn't even go to I didn't even go to the awards show. I just hit booth after booth. I dropped a bunch of stickers off, and then I bounced. I probably should have stayed for the whole time, but whatever.
I'm not mad at it, because that's kind of how I got my start with a lot of these events. I would just kind of go there for a little bit of network and didn't really want to hang out too much. But you kind of find a lay of the land, and you're able to get a little more intimate relationship with some of the right people this way, and be seen a little bit more. And it pays off in the long run for sure.
Yeah. I've got like conflicting instincts on that. It's weird. Like I want to stay like a certain size, but I don't want to get too. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I totally understand that too, and that even comes down to like the whole social media thing. Like I like to definitely be active out in the community and kind of show people a piece of what I'm doing, where I'm at, what I'm involved with, kind of thing like that. But I'm also definitely on the old school type of I don't post it until after I've left, and nothing is ever live. I'm always gone by the time you see it.
Oh yeah. I'm not
Yeah. So unless I specifically say come and see me type shit, like you will never find me based off of my social media.
No. I'm kind of the same way. Like if I'm posting stuff from hikes, I'm already down off the mountain. If I'm posting,
I'm long gone.
I usually don't even post like traveling pics until after I get back, because like I've been ripped once, man. And I've always got, well, not always. I've usually got like something going on at the house, usually it's just a little grow, right? And I don't need people to be like, oh, Dig's gone for a couple days, let me go steal his shit.
Absolutely. Low profile is definitely more
And if they
beneficial.
think that, I don't want to catch them.
Exactly. Of course. There's always got to be the vengeance, of course.
That's a brickin'.
What about you, man? What have you been smoking on lately, man?
Oh man, I've been doing good in the garden. I just recently pulled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 plants. Got number 9 in the garage, getting ready to come down. So today, that started the day off with some CBD Dutch Treat, which is like a 2-to-1 CBD heavy, so it's probably got like 4% THC and like 8% CBD. And then the second thing, kind of a sativa leaner, has kind of like amnesia hazy kind of terps.
Yeah, absolutely. Those I can appreciate, like I said, because I prefer kind of an old school skunk, you know what I'm saying? Like a little piney,
Yeah, not so piney exactly, but like almost cheesy. I don't know how to describe it. And it's mellowed a little bit in the jar. It's from last year's outdoor. And then
there we go.
I've been smoking on some freshy indoor. So I smoked some star fruits that I grew from Gem Seeker Genetics. I'm not Gem Seeker Genetics. Sorry, Multiverse Beans. And then after that, I smoked a blunt with gram and 3/4 of Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is from Gem Seeker Genetics. And I had some really good plants on the indoor. So I've done curing 3 of them. 5 more of them are hanging, and 1 of them's growing. So I'm in the middle of my very late indoor harvest for 2025, and I'm in the middle of growing out the outdoor girls too. It's a zoo over in my house, and I'm trying to germinate pepper seeds too.
Hey, chaos creates perfection or something like that along the lines,
Well, if anything, at least I'll have more plants than I need. Hopefully, we'll see.
That's always a good plan.
Yeah,
but definitely, man. I want to do a lot more with you when you come back up here, man. I actually want to get you down to the shop, kind of, get you a little more in depth and get you a goodie bag going, man. Just to get a little feel for the Washington market, because things are always changing. There's always new stuff popping up, and like I said, me, I prefer a lot of the more small batch stuff that might not be found everywhere.
Okay.
So definitely, man, I want to take care of you anytime you come up here, bro.
Oh, dude. Well, right now, I'll tell you right now, me and the missus are planning on coming up. We don't know when yet, but sometime this summer. You know, we've got
Sounds good.
her grandpa lives up there, up in the area. We've got family all up and down the 5 corridor in the Northwest. So we kind of try to migrate up and down the 5 probably about 4 times a year.
There we go. It's always good to have multiple reasons to kind of make that trip. That works.
It is. It's always good to have more friends in an area than you almost have time to meet.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a reason to come.
Yeah, but I'll have to come by the shop when you're on shift one of these days. We'll work it out way ahead of time.
Man.
You can introduce me to the peeps if you want to. We can see what's up.
For sure, man. For sure. That sounds like a plan to me. I like it.
Now, way back, it's been like 6 months. I was hitting you up because I wanted to record a micro segment, and then it never worked out because you had a messaging app glitch or something. I don't remember what happened, but you're like, I'm sorry, I missed your text message or whatever. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And
so many messages lost.
I hate it when that happens. Yeah, because I was like, dude, like he always hits me up. This is weird. I'll text him in a couple days, see what's up, and you're like, dude, it's been like I haven't seen any of them, and I'm like, oh, okay. So, I was trying.
I apologize. It was a few people that happened to.
I got into a big tiff, not a tiff. Let's call it an aggressive discussion with a bud tender friend of mine who, well, he's not a bud tender anymore. He's a bud tender on the Washington market for a little bit, but further down south from you. And I was like, bro, that's not a blunt. That's a hemp wrap. That's a joint or something, but you can't call it a blunt. He's like, but it's called a blunt on the packaging. And I'm like, you can't sell me a blunt, dude. A blunt is wrapped in tobacco. And so I thought, let me bring this up to Bong Marley. Like, what is a blunt to you?
So my beliefs and through my research historically, a blunt has its origin from the Philly blunt cigarillos. That was the start of busting those down. I think it was a Wu-Tang song. They were talking about busting it down and rolling it up. So historically, yes, it is some sort of tobacco cigarillo rolled up. So, I mean, I think for the sake of appealing to that side of the market, those that still are stuck on like Backwoods or Swisher Sweets or, you know, Garcia Vegas, whatever, they tell them it's a blunt, even though it is a hemp wrap. I personally, I started off actually smoking a gang of blunts. Like that was all I smoked was Swisher Sweets and Backwoods and all that for like the first 10 years before I became Bong Marley. You know, deep dark secret in there. Yeah, I don't like the hemp wrap thing too, so I don't even think I could even go that alternative. It just seems like it's like drinking Diet Coke and sugar-free things. It's just a blunt is a blunt, a joint is a joint. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
Can't really, yeah.
Now, see,
can't muddy those waters.
Now, what I will say is there is some mud in the water in the spliff territory because people have been loosey-goosey with the slang over the years. And when I was a youngin', you know, a spliff was like mixed with tobacco, like to some degree, whether it was blended or the front was tobacco and the back was weed, whatever, however it was mixed up. If someone handed you a hand roll and it was a spliff, there was tobacco in it. But now I've been listening to a lot of like hip hop over the years and over like the last decades. I don't know if the slang has changed on spliffs a little bit. Am I out of pocket here?
You know, you might be asking the wrong one because, I mean, me and the people I affiliate with, my generation, I mean, we still agree that is what a spliff is. So if it has changed from that, then I'm completely lost, man.
Okay.
I'm just as lost as you are.
So I got to ask you, dude, everyone's talking about spray packs. Have you ever, now I know now this is a weird question, right? Because spray packs, all they are is artificial terps, right? So I know that there are artificial, okay, well, let's not say artificial terps. Let's say non-cannabis, botanically derived terps in the Washington market. How do you feel about that?
So it is what it is for me because, like I said, just based on my consumption preferences, I honestly believe that's never going to be an issue with me. And reason being is because those botanical terps are more prevalent in our cartridge and like disposable market.
Right.
I have had a couple of out of towners, like more from like the East Coast, New York or Florida. They'll come in and they'll make references such as that, as ask if this weed is sprayed or not. Just because I have to explain, the whole genetics to them. And being from a non-legal state, a lot of them only know like trendy names like Runts and Skittles and Gelato and cookies and things like that. So they have a very limited range of what to ask for comparison-wise. Because everything on the street over there is Zaza or Runts. So, if the Runts is used as an interchangeable term just for good weed, in non-legal markets. So it causes confusion when you get to the shop and you have, 15 kinds of Runts and you have to explain the genetics behind it. It's all just a completely different language to them. But the sprayed part of it, like I said, I mean, I don't think the Washington market would waste that product on flour so much as using it in more of the budget-friendly cartridges, because that's where you find like the $15 and $20 range where they're pumpkin pie or apple cinnamon, these flavors that are completely artificial, because you're covering up less than great weed concentrates and such like that. So you add a little bit of something to kind of give it a bit more of appeal.
Covering up that hay smell.
I don't think that the Washington market, and just being as rich as it was in the medical market before we became legal, I don't think they're going to taint the weed like that. The East Coast has always kind of had a trivial time. New York specifically with their cannabis market, they're just now legalizing and still having quite a bit of issues with the black market corner store sellers. So I think until they get an established market, it's going to be very black and white. They're going to have their sprayed pack problem, and then when they come here, they're not going to understand anything I'm talking about.
New York, watching, I've always thought, I'm not really a New York guy. The East Coast is always, it's never really been my vibe. But I always kind of had, I kind of always had high hopes that, New York City would become some sort of, East Coast cannabis mecca culturally, where it would drag in dudes from outside like you and me. We would have to if we wanted our career cannabis dude career guy to continue, we'd have to go be on whatever podcast or whatever was in New York or whatever, and it just never happened. And it kind of made me sad. I mean, because that city has a lot of gravity to it, and I feel like it's wasted.
Absolutely. A lot of influence, like I said, a lot of things, can be done from there. But I think part of the reason is when you think, for example, if you name, 10 cities up the West Coast and you name, 10 cities up the East Coast, there's kind of going to be a different vibe on the first word that comes to mind about these. If you said, Portland in New York, you know what I mean? Those two together, it screams two different things.
Oh yeah.
And I think that just the cannabis market it can be nurtured more in an environment like the West Coast, just because it's not as New York it screams commercial.
Totally.
It's a different vibe there. Now with the West Coast, you have a little bit more range of things. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's historically a little more prevalent here with the California mountains and such, and just Portland being the hippie mecca, and just all around just the West Coast being known for that. So I think it's just different priorities at different times. Like I said, different. It just caters to different things, and cannabis really just doesn't. It's going to take a bit more to grow in that type of market, because everything's about money over there. It's not really the product itself kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I definitely do. That's kind of the struggle with East Coasters. I'm not this podcast isn't really a money-making project. And I think some dudes that come out of that culture have a hard time. You're just making a podcast. Yeah. You spent all this money on it. Yes. Is it a business? Not really. What about your brand? It's just an art project, man. Eventually, if it makes money, I might take sponsors, whatever. But I'm just making it.
Yeah, and And that's the crazy part is that's honestly kind of like, I hate to say it, but I feel like, you know, a certain aspect of the Washington cannabis market is turning into that you know, New York type of feel. And reason being is because since we don't offer deli style, everything is about the flashy label and everything like that, and it's very money driven. Like I said, that drives up the prices because, you know, you have the jars over the bags and the fancy labels and just just hyping everything. It's turning into something it shouldn't, as opposed to, like I said, when I can't smoke anything but the flower. You know what I mean? Like, what is the purpose of you giving me such a fancy label and jar?
It's that
I get brand
Amazonification
identification.
of Seattle and Washington in general, dude.
But I get that part, but it's like, okay, like, it was cool. You can get a logo and a certain look to go in, but make that brand or that logo and that look universal across your entire lineup. Don't have a, you know, like one thing. There's a farm that's actually a multi-state operation, Clout King, and
Okay.
they're a bunch of ex-cops that essentially have switched over, you know, put their money together and, you know, done the whole legal cannabis thing.
Ick.
But their labels are all very commercial and knockoff, like parody versions of actual real companies. You know what I mean? It's on that trendy, you know, appeal to the, you know, it makes you think of labels and other brands like that, so it sticks a little better. But that's not what this should be about. It shouldn't be about people remembering your label. It should be about people remembering your weed.
How
And
it
that's
breaks
what it's
down.
turned
Yeah.
into. It's so frustrating in that part.
That's
Because- and
what was
that's
that
all kind of
brand that I inadvertently had a sample of when I came out and saw you, and you literally had some of the same shit.
Oh, 50-fold. Yeah.
That the only I don't even remember what they're called, right? But I remember breaking down their weed and being like, oh, and it hitting real clean. You could take a big rip of it without coughing.
Because their labeling is super nondescript. Like, it's very basic. It just has what, you know, it needs to on there. It has the name. It might have like a background color.
And it
But
shows off
fancy
their
pictures,
weed.
no fancy font.
Their jar
Yeah,
shows off their
exactly.
weed so you can see their fucking weed and see that it's good. Because you can't go off a smell in Washington.
Exactly. When you can't smell it, you at least need to be able to see it. You know, it is just bonkers that there's just a competition for who has the coolest label. That is just beyond me.
Now, I was recently on the phone with a friend of mine, and we were having a conversation about cannabis, and they were starting to frustrate me. One of the things they said that frustrated me was they said terps don't get you high, and it really made me sad and like, oh man, we have such an information rich environment, but
Yeah, I mean, literally, when you walk around with literally every answer you need to that question, and you choose not to further your own education and rather be content with, you know, that ignorance. It's crazy. Like, literally everything you want to know about it is at your fingertips.
so
And yet you still
so let's talk about the entourage effect. Let's feed the pigs at the trough, man. So THC. Go ahead, man.
Man, yeah. You're telling me, and I know I got to take a minute, man, just because, like I said, it's an everyday conversation. And I think every bud tender can kind of relate to this. Any good bud tender, I'll say that. I won't say all bud tenders, but any good bud tender will tell you that if you shop on numbers, you're never going to find the weed you want. You're never going to be satisfied with the weed. And I always have to compare it to something like there's a reason that people choose gin over whiskey over tequila over vodka. You know, it's like all of it has alcohol in it and all of it's going to get you drunk at a certain point. But it's like, why are you going to choose one over the other? And that's where it comes down to it. And, you know, some people say, oh, like, and there's a lot of people that come in and say, oh, indicas don't work on me or sativas don't work on me. And, you know, that type of thing like that. And, you know, one analogy that I found works pretty well is, like, you got to think about it, is everybody has a certain style. Everybody dresses a certain way, you know, and has their look, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. And terpenes are kind of the same way with your brand chemistry. Now, some sativas may make people kind of tweaky. Some, that's how they function throughout the day, is that energetic feel. And it has to do with not everybody can wear a three-piece suit. Not everybody can, you know, wear, a Canadian tuxedo, just all denim. It's a certain look that fits for everybody. And like I said, you have to essentially find your terpene profile that fits for you, because some indicas will knock people out in one hit, and others can smoke it all day long, and that just kind of keeps them at bay, because maybe they have an anger problem, maybe they need to just chill the fuck out, So as far as the terpenes don't get you high, okay, like, yeah, terpenes alone will not get you high, and that's kind of why you're able to buy them online, because they hold no psychoactive effects and everything like that. But hungry high, sleepy high, like a social high, these are all the real things. It is not just a luck of the draw. It is not just, depending on what your mood is. It is those certain concentrations of terpenes in there. Like, there's a reason that lemon and citrus are used in those cleaners and things that are supposed to make you feel good, because that is the euphoria part of it. There's a reason that lavender and pepper and cloves are smells that are in relaxation things, because those are heavy in the terpenes that make you sleepy. It goes hand in hand. And all this information is readily available. And it's crazy that people refuse to look at that, but rather just keep saying, give me the strongest shit you got. I'm like, okay, what kind of strong? Like, do you want to be knocked out on your ass? Do you want to clean your house? Like, it's relative. And it almost makes them angry, because, all these years they have thought they are just the biggest smoker in the world and smoke all the best things because they're chasing numbers. I was just telling a friend, like, could you imagine back in high school if we could write percentages on those Ziploc bags? Like, it would be $50 eighths all day long. Like,
Honestly, a lot of the high percentage stuff kind of doesn't hit the same, because you have like a big...
Man, I tried to explain that to him, and it's a lot easier, honestly, to explain that to him with the cartridges, because, like, a lot of them, the ones that people are buying are, these, 85, 90, 95, and as high as you can get a percentage.
Get you high for 15 minutes.
Yeah, and those are also the cheap cartridges. You wonder why? It's because they have essentially just gotten distillate that's just so cheap and everything, and they've, and anybody can put a label on them. First of all, there's no home test. Whoever comes up with the home test is going to blow the entire market out the water. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I say, it'll really find out who's telling the truth.
They have some that are like pretty basic. I think they'll test for like THC, but they're prohibitively expensive from what I've understand, and you can only test flower.
That's what I'm saying. Like I said, and it's very limited to, like there's not a broad enough market of this to kind of say, like, how reliable is this and things like that. There's not enough to compare this.
When there is ubiquitous is like fentanyl test kits, like when you can just go buy a test kit for $5 and test your weed.
Because then why is there $200,000 labs? Like, what is the difference then? Like, why are they even still in business if it is that benign, if it's that easy to just make a test?
That is interesting, how most regulated markets have clearly fraudulent lab results from multiple labs that operate, absolutely, and they're still allowed to operate. I've always been interested about that. Like, this company is blatantly committing fraud, and just no one says anything.
So about three months ago, so Northwest Cannabis Solutions is the second biggest producer of cannabis products in the state, and in the state of Washington. And about 3 months ago, the LCCB released this report, because from time to time they'll kind of do audits on products and things like that, and kind of just test their heavy metals and pesticide reports. So last June, there was a bill passed that, all the products had to be DOH compliant, and they put this nice sticker on there that proves they're pesticide free and heavy metal free and woo, all the nine. So fast forward to 3 months ago, LCCB audited Northwest Cannabis Solutions catalog, and they found 500 SKUs from one of their lines that all tested positive for pesticides and heavy metals, yet they all had this DOH sticker on them. And so it's a completely flawed system. Like, yeah, I understand you mean well and you want to have the cleanest products, but when you're just requiring them to put on a sticker that's readily available on Amazon, what kind of enforcement do you really have? Like, you know, who are we to really trust and how are we to prove this? Because that goes hand in hand with the products that that medical patients are supposed to be able to get that 37% excise tax off. So if you can just slap a sticker on it, is it really medically compliant? Is it really what it says it is? And that is why, like I said, this market is becoming a lot of smoke and mirrors, and it's, you know, whatever money can buy kind of thing. Someone did an independent test study probably about 6 months back about a lot of. They went and got like 100 products off the shelf, and they had paid to get them tested in this lab, and a lot of the numbers came up to about 10% or more less THC than what was stated on the packaging. And they did kind of compensate for, you know, like the ones that were stored improperly and kind of how long it's been there. But just they went out searching for specific ones that were kind of stored properly. Like, what do you have that came in fresh and that's still sitting in storage and in the dark in the back and under lights in the display, and, you know, kind of thing. What kind of storage it is? Is it in a jar? With just anything you can, so you don't have a tainted product to test. And yet pretty much everything came up as 10% or lower. And when I'm telling that to these numbers chasers, it is just their head's about to explode, because they want to feel like they are smoking, you know, 35% flower, you know, when all reality, you might get lucky if that flower hit 20. You know, it's okay. Like, you know,
20 is good flower, man. That's right where you want it to come in at 18, 22%.
That's what I'm saying. And that brings me back to the carts. It's like, so, you know, having to explain to these people, you know, some of the carts, you know, can range, you know, $50 and up, but, you know, you'll see these numbers are maybe in the 70% range, but they're also putting, you know, 17, you know, 12% terps, you know, they're putting this terpene content on, but that doesn't make sense to them because they want that high number.
Right.
And so they're like, why would I pay more for a lower number when I can get this 98% for, you know, half the price? And it's just frustrating because distillate, live resin, and solventless mean nothing to them. It's just that number.
Right.
And
they don't care how
you know,
clean it is. They don't care if it's fresh pressed or if it was literally blasted. They don't
absolutely. care. And so what needs to happen, honestly, is like, yes, the THC is a you know, it is a way to measure a certain part of this plant. But in all reality, it needs to become a lot more minor part of what's on that label. You know, it needs to be pushed a little more to the foreground. Put it in the fine print. You know, in more bold print, put these terpenes out there so people can kind of correlate certain strains. People have favorite strains. I tell them don't. The reason being is you'll never find it again. You know, it's how it goes. But terpenes are everywhere. They're prevalent in pretty much everything. So you will find those terpenes again.
I'm a basic bitch when it comes to terpenes. Give me that grape candy during the day. I like the indica lean grape candy, like grape ape and like some of that stuff. But but most of the time, man, it's myrcene and pinene, man. I'm a boring guy. I like my boring, piney, stanky weed.
But that's okay. It makes your weed easy to find. And that's what I tell people, man. It's like, you know, broaden your horizon a little bit. Stop zeroing in on one thing. Take the blinders off, man. It's a lot of weed out there to smoke, man. Like, you know, and you're just out here just, yeah, you know.
Stanky. Like, and that's the other thing. Like, sometimes I'll smell stanky weed that doesn't smell good to me. It's like, that's good.
Yeah.
And then other weed, I'm like, that smells bad. Let me get some of that. And like,
yeah,
you really like, I do like that, that there's a variety of terpene profiles that are moving through like all the markets right now, like black market everywhere. There's all kinds of terps, but I do wish that it was less led by hype. And then, because then if it was just led by what people liked consistently, I think the market, we could actually see like what stands on its own. Like, how many of these old heads are still going to be smoking haze in 10 years? Like, how many people are, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And that's the thing, is like, it's going to be, honestly, it's for a very minute reason, for one reason only. I mean, it's gonna be a sad day when a lot of the old heads are gone, just because like the market is always on a push to, yeah. I mean, that's with anything in sales, you know, you want to give the people what they want. but it's so much of an appeal that you're trying to appeal to such a broad market that you're willing to, you know, almost get away from your roots in a sense of people are scared of the taste of weed, man. Like they don't want a carton to taste like weed. They don't even want flower that tastes like weed. They want flavored infused joints. Like it's like why
They
are
don't
you
want to
scared of
walk
this?
everywhere smelling like an eighth.
But you know, I get the smell part, you know, but I mean, like, it's still, don't be scared of the taste of weed. You're kind of ruining what, you know, what we actually had to grow on. Like, you know, we grew up on this shit, so we got to be able to appreciate both sides of these things. When, you know, this is all that's falling in your lap, it's like, do you really know what the full spectrum of weed is? You were born with just all the candies, and that's all you've ever been on. You've never experienced the whole landrace beauty, you know, of actual pure terpene effects, you know, not where everything is just a blend. You know?
But you know what the craziest weed I ever had was, though? The first time I had some good Skittles. Because I knew the I've been going to that dispensary for years. They had a farm, right? It was vertically integrated. I know that the terps came from the cannabis plant, right? This is organically grown. But when I first took the hit, I rolled this joint, I put it in a tube. I came back an hour later, I took the first hit. I was almost mad at first. Because it tasted, of course it tasted like weed. But it tasted like Skittles a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, what in the fuck did they sell me? Did they like drop a cart on this or something? You know what I mean? I was like, what the hell? And then I took another hit and I'm like,
blowing, you know?
I never had Skittles like that again. Ever. I only ever had it once, but it was memorable. And I was like, okay, I see why people like this candy stuff. It also had a really heavy indica high. It was really nice, but I've never had that Skittles again. I don't know where it went. I don't know.
And see, your brain got opened up to an entirely new terp profile combination that it had never experienced before. It just unlocked a whole different part of your brain. But like, you know, explaining old timers that, yeah, like, I mean, you can breed genetics to taste this way. Like trying to explain that to them was the same way, like when I was at Comcast, you know, trying to sell them a talking Xfinity remote. It's like, I promise you it's not listening to you all the time. It's just when you're hitting this button. It's the same thing. It's like they do not believe you because, you know, first of all, they've been smoking longer than I've been alive. So there's nothing I can tell them whatsoever. That is, you know, that is always going to be commonplace.
They've been
But it's
smoking
like,
dime bags of boof for years, so they know everything about weed.
Yeah, and that's like I said, and that's another thing. Is like it's the new age smokers that have only ever smoked the candies and things like that, and never actually smoked old school weed. It's like you are limiting and training your brain again to just expect these things, man. When these old school, you know, mid-range THC strains will knock you on your ass. Like, you know, it's a whole different game. That's the side I don't want to see go away. I want both sides of that to stay around, you know.
Yeah.
The OGs as well as it. That we can see what came from what, you know. Look where we've came. Not just this is what it's always been and it's always gonna be. You know. Everything shouldn't be like a damn Verizon star and, you know, an Apple Watch and it's just too commercial and
Give me
I just
that
want a bag of weed,
Casio.
man.
Give me that $17
Yeah,
Casio.
you know,
I'm gonna put it in my blunt.
literally, you know.
So, do you ever dab? Because I never see you dab on your Instagram. I think I've asked you this before, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I do, but I've taken probably it's been I think maybe a 3, maybe 4 month break. I got easily an ounce of concentrate just sitting in the drawer, just ready for the day I decide I want to, because I literally have all the necessities. I just haven't, you know. It's just when I'm just sort of appreciating the flower. But yeah, I used to dab pretty heavy, honestly. But the last couple of years, I've just dwindled off completely and just been predominantly a smoker.
Yeah.
Flower smoker, and you know, a lot more edibles. Really, that's where I've been at. It's kind of been my sweet spot. But I mean, summertime is coming, man. You know, it might turn it up a little bit. Stay tuned. Again,
I found that I like putting dabs in my joints and stuff rather than rather, I don't even have a rig anymore. Like, me and a few of the guys that I've been running around with for a few years, we're getting older, and we found that like heavy dab use or like just dabbing in general kind of make us cough and shit. A lot of us have been, I used to smoke cigarettes. A lot of them have just quit smoking cigarettes or whatever. So it's all kind of mixed together, but we find that bong rips and stuff are a little easier on our lungs than the dabs, at least as we creep up into the 40s.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because for a long time, especially in like, let's say like the early 2010s, a lot of us crunchy fucks down here in Southern Oregon, if you were dabbing, you were probably dabbing like some of the most ratchet, blasted
Absolutely.
BHO like garbage
Straight
that's ever
tar.
been.
Tar off the titanium spoon. Like, it just looked super questionable.
Oh, dude, yeah, and tasted. It tasted like what's the word? Petroleum-y. Like, it did not taste right. A lot of it.
Yeah.
So for the listener,
Like motor oil and licorice.
Yes.
That's probably about the most accurate description I've come up with.
So
dabs, motor oil and licorice.
So for the listener, dabs didn't always used to be these golden colored, like very clean tested things. Even on the medical market, a lot of times they would be like the color of tar. And what people would do is they would take these giant glass tubes with a little nipple at the end, and they would take BHO canisters and blast the BHO through those tubes packed with weed, and what came out on the other end was like butane impregnated with resin, and then they would cook that off, and what was left is what you would dab. It's BHO.
Bro, I literally just shiver. It's like just the storytelling of that, bro, just took me back, and it just shivers, bro. That is just one of the most raunchy times. Like,
back in the day, I was at
tame soup. Just oh my goodness!
I can't
Who
even
let us do that.
Well, I mean, it was one of those things when I think part of what led to the BHO explosion isn't that dabbing is so much better than smoking weed. I think growers found a secondary market for flower that wasn't moving, and they figured out that if they just wanted to blast all their backyard weed that wasn't worth $3,000 a pound anymore, they could still make some money. And I think that's what happened, and that's why BHO got so big. But I'm not sure.
That things had to be done to get to where we are now, I guess.
I still can't believe Washington doesn't allow home grow.
No, man. And like I said, that was also up for, there was a few things they had on the ballot this year, but it actually ended up being amended. So they had one bill, I think it was SB 2112?
That sounds right.
Or sounds about right. But it initially gotten proposed to the Senate as a bill to allow farms to sell up to 1,000 pounds yearly direct from farm to consumer.
Oh yeah, and, the farmers market bill. We covered that on the Cannabis Corner in Tacoma. It was just a while ago. I forgot about it.
Yeah, so it essentially got amended to just limit the amount of entities that certain shareholders were allowed to have. Just essentially not turning it into a monopoly kind of thing, having too many licenses under one name, and they turned it into a paperwork thing to slow down a bit of money. So and that's unfortunately what happens to a lot of those type of bills is they get amended to the point they are no longer what it started out as, because that would, I feel like, would have been a lot more beneficial to the market. Retail wise, like the number of shops have kind of leveled out. Producers have kind of dropped, but like you have all these new ones popping up, and it's more just because these parent companies have decided to have 10 to 15 different ways to distribute their product.
Right.
But I mean, I think one of the benefits of that was being farm to consumer. First of all, it allows a bit of transparency as far as what they're actually getting before it gets, just without the retail manipulation of, because people believe that we're getting one over on them, a lot of times, and that's fair for them to think that because the industry standard is 3.5 times markup. So whatever, the store buys it from the farm, they mark it up 3.5 times and go from there. Some even more, depending on where you are. So, but I think this will allow, even if they keep a similar kind of pay structure on that, or like drop the price a little bit, it'll allow for a little more transparency and give the consumer a chance to get, what they would consider fresher weed, because some of the stuff does sit longer than you would like it to. Not everything moves as fast as the top sellers. So we're giving them that chance, buy directly from them. I feel like will change the demographic and not the demographic, but I feel like it'll change kind of the outlook of the market. Having as many retail stores as we do, I feel like just made it this money hungry game. Oh, let's make fancy labels. If we take it back to farm to consumer, then people's more priority will be on that actual product as opposed to the the label in the jar of what they see, because they can't touch anything and they can't really find out anything more about that farm unless they go chasing their own research. If you have that ability to go directly to them, you can find out, okay, like this is your grow operation. This is what your ethics are like. This is what even the vibe there feels like. You know what I mean? 'Cause some people are that way.
Oh yeah.
So it's a shame that got switched up to something more just, let's make sure you guys are spreading the money around or the paperwork around to more names than just this guy with, on 30 licenses kind of thing. That's what it turned into.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
It really is, because in Washington right now, there's no real legal way a patient to directly access like high quality meds unless they've got like a home grow thing going on.
Yeah, and like I said, they better know somebody who really knows what they're doing, because like I said, not all home grows are created equally.
No, I agree with you. And
you know what I mean?
and shit happens. Like I have good runs and bad runs. And
like I said, we just became our shop specifically just became medically endorsed. So we're able to create their medical authorization cards that they're able to take, to any shop that's medically endorsed in the state, and also get that 37% tax off of there. We do have a medical consultant that's registered with the state who's went through all what they call is the proper training and things like that. But it's a slippery slope, because with the patients that come in there and buying the products that they need to get, even with that tax coming off, sometimes the products can be still a bit pricey.
Oh yeah.
So on one hand, I'm wanting to tell them find a caregiver that can actually be able to take care of you and give you this at a more budget friendly cost. But at the same time, is like, are you going to be able to find a grower or a caregiver that's able to grow product or produce something that's up to those standards, that may be similar to something you're getting in the shop, because not all of these people that are caregivers have the same resources. It's not a level playing field.
No, it's
very
not.
easy. Yeah, it's very easy in the Washington market to become a medically authorized caregiver and to get these plants and whatever. But it's a lot more difficult to become a recreational grower, and get that license to grow on the commercial side of things. It creates a bit of a fog. It's like, are these just people wanting to, evade taxes or do this, what people do, and actually take care of the patients?
Yeah.
So, there's that part of it, and it's a shame that it's a little ass backwards that way. Because those are the people that should be able to receive and have access to these better products.
Well,
because
and
in this market, there's almost no medical only shops left here. There's a few like in the backwoods, and like how reliable is that is, some of these small mom and pop. But pretty much everything is recreational, and the shops just get medically endorsed.
Same thing in Oregon. There's very few medical only dispensaries, but there was always a very robust medical grow scene here. So it's not like
Yeah.
Washington where the whole grow scene is pretty much corporate. There's a deep rooted culture in Southern Oregon, in Humboldt, probably up near Portland too, but down here for sure, NorCal, all over the West Coast, the rural West Coast specifically, of homegrown backyard cannabis. And there's so much institutional knowledge here that if you know a couple of other growers, you can. I'm not going to say you're growing the best cannabis. Like, I've had good years and bad years outdoors. I've had good runs and bad runs, but
Yeah.
you will be producing better cannabis at higher volumes than what you can buy at the store within a few years of starting growing here. And I've seen guys kill it on their first couple of runs too, if they're really good at researching and stuff. But if you don't have that institutional knowledge or the environment, the environment here is very forgiving to outdoor cannabis growing. Less so the last couple of years, but that has more to do with pests and some changing environmental stuff than like the actual, like, it's not weather. It's like we've had after hemp we have a really bad aphid problem now where it's becoming difficult to manage outdoors. But other than that, yeah, it's great to grow here, and it's not as great to grow in Washington. So I think you're also running uphill a little bit with the environment in Washington State, with the humidity and the rain and everything, and the short growing season.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why everyone has to have these, top of the line, grow operations and such. But that's also another reason that a lot of people are, packing up, selling the license, and moving out of state and kind of starting over.
Right.
There's states that have a little bit more inclusive culture because, there's other states that are being more progressive towards the sides of how can we improve this culture as opposed to how can we make more money out of this,
Right.
Industry like Washington is. Because it's an industry. It's an industry at the end of the day, but I feel like that's why other states are kind of succeeding and kind of, blowing past Washington State, is because they are treating it as more of a culture as opposed to just the industry. They're seeing other ways to embrace the people and not just make money off of them. Because like other states are wanting, safe consumption lounges and, just other aspects of like letting, bigger name brands like restaurants and such allow it, maybe after hours, 21 and up side of things,
Right.
things like that. Washington is, like I said, we're still leaps and bounds behind that. And because it's more of like, let's not proceed with anything unless we can bleed them dry for everything this is worth. Because we have to tell people, oh, we're going to spend the tax dollars on this or this and paint a beautiful picture about it. But it's like, in the long run, what are we going to do? Washington State's notorious for having, these traffic traffic construction projects that don't end for 20 years and things, and that's where a lot of this money was supposed to go and go towards education in schools. We still have even more endless construction projects that have been going on for a decade plus. The education in schools, they gave them one paragraph on fentanyl, which is running ragged, and 3 pages on cannabis and how it can induce schizophrenia and this and and developmental issues and it's like I don't think that was the kind of education they were talking about. Like not more fear mongering and scare tactics and such. So like I said, just being a money game, it's a bully tactic. Like how we got the money from you, you got your weed, we got more control over you. Like that's exactly why a lot of the farms are selling the license and going somewhere where they have a little bit more freedom and a little more room to grow in an environment where they actually see things progressing. Here, Washington has kind of seen it as leveled out. There are no new aspects of this industry trying to be, enforced. Like HempFest, it was the biggest protestival in the country.
Yep.
That got shut down because Expedia felt that, it was against they didn't want it in the area because they had set up their headquarters there, and they would have seen it or something like that, and they paid for billboard space and they pretty much just got a bunch of other people to lobby with them and, shake them out of this. And so now they do a couple of like little smaller Halloween party type events, but nothing, nothing like the million people over the weekend like they were doing. It's
No.
500, maybe 1,000 people events. It's insane, just what it's become. And it was supposed to go the other way, especially in this type of environment.
Yeah,
But
it sucks to see how it's turning out, but hopefully this is an overcorrection. In the next 10 years, we see Washington loosen up, because what's going to happen is if they keep going the way they're going, they're going to lose their tax base.
they're going to lose that entire market. That's what I'm saying. It's when you shot yourself in the foot with this, like literally no home grow, like that would be pivotal right there. But
Change
they
the
are
culture.
worried
It would change the culture in 2 grow seasons, man. 2 growing seasons.
Just it's insane, like that everything is just so money hungry that they can't even see what's directly in front of them.
They know. They look to the south. They look to the south. They look to Oregon. Oregon, you can almost do goddamn whatever you want if you own your property. And I know that's
can't hide from it, man. Yeah,
I had I had a couple years ago that I did an episode, the fence and the fender bender. This lady drove through my fence into my garden, and the cops were everywhere. And I was like, "Do you want to see my paperwork?" They didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck about my plants. They were 8 feet tall right in front of me. Now the neighbors or whoever stole them after lady knocked down my fence, but the cops didn't care. They didn't even want to see my medical license. I had 8 foot plants in my backyard. They didn't care. They didn't give a shit. It was great. And it's really sad, because I just feel like we could have like a really cool like home grow and like independent producer like led culture from the Canadian border to the Mexican border, and we don't, because people
literally
just want to make
in all 3 states.
Yeah,
all 3 states have legalized. They've already all enacted their interstate commerce bills. So I mean, literally the only thing stopping is the federal action, because like as soon as that takes place, then like I said, California is ready to ship shit here. Like
Oregon is too. Oregon's ready.
You know what I mean?
Oregon's ready to start sending shit into Idaho against Idaho's wishes.
Yeah,
we don't give a fuck, bro. Come on, bro.
That's what I'm saying, man. We are completely.
Hey,
ready
Texas,
for that.
fuck around and legalize weed. We got something for you.
And honestly, it's like, look how big you are, Texas. I mean, like you have power you don't even know you have right now.
Oh,
like,
they know, and they're against weed, and they're against freedom. They want you to have a gun and nothing else.
Yeah. They crave to be different so bad. Like that's what they.
That's where I'm from, dude. I'm from
good.
Houston, dude. I'm from the Houston area, a little town, like 45 minutes north of there. It's a different place.
Absolutely.
Washington was a trip. Coming from Texas and then ending up here, and then coming down to Oregon, like it way better on the West Coast.
Absolutely.
But Oregon is a lot cheaper than living up in Washington. Like if you can get established down here, you can live a lot cheaper, but there's not as much money. That is one thing I'll say about Oregon. The weed, you can grow weed in your backyard, but there's not like... There's not gold in these hills. You know what I mean?
But you see, and that's it's about perspective, and that's what I try to explain to people. It's like, people come when they see the appeal of like, a good job here and how much money there is here, but it's like, it's a necessity. You have to have money to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a place like that, you say, yeah, there's not as much money, but there's also not that constant thrive. Like the environment is different, in places like that. It's the constant need. They force you to spend money here. It's, you know what I mean? It's kind of there. They got your hand and foot. No matter
I remember I watched it kind of change, because you could hustle, like, because in 2009 I was still in the Army, and I was moonlighting at a place on Saturday in Seattle for a little bit, washing dishes. And I remember working people were not killing it, but like some of my coworkers still lived in Seattle, like in the metro, like not in the metro area, like in the city. Technically, they still lived in the city. They were still scraping by, paying property taxes that they were doing it, and I don't know anymore. You know?
Oh yeah, man, it changed drastically, bro. 2009, my first man, that was I was still living in my first apartment. That was like $700, man. Like,
Yeah, $700 for a
insane.
2-bedroom. You could work at
Yeah,
you
it
could
was
work
like-
you could work at like a Red Lobster, like waiting tables, and then like drive a compact car to your 2-bedroom apartment in like Bellingham or whatever. I don't know what the fuck.
yeah, shit is insane.
Oh man, I don't know. Whatever. Good old days. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's
fucking
funny.
wild.
It's funny. An hour and 3 minutes, and now we run out of steam.
Oh man, so see, we're always having fun, man. You see, we always have great conversations, man. A lot of knowledge to be spilled here, man.
Well, thanks for being
That's
on,
good.
man. I appreciate you coming on the Bag Seed Chronicles. Is there anything you want to shout out or say before we let you go, Bong Marley?
No, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. You know, like I said, I'm always here whenever you need me, bro. So yeah, keep calling and I'm gonna keep coming talking, bro.
All right, man. I'll see you on the flip.
Thank you for listening to the Bag Seed Chronicles. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. Peace out. Yeah. Groovy. Allow for me to play you the music of my people.